If you ever feel like you're bad at your job, just take solace in the fact that you will never be as bad at your job as the board at OpenAI has been over the past 3 days. If you're out of the loop, the board at OpenAI fired their very popular and competent CEO, Sam Altman, on Friday. Did they have a transition plan in place? Nope. And while they appointed an interim CEO, they apparently had no plan to retain the talent that was very heavily attached to their very popular CEO. They also didn't take the time to do things like, inform their strategic partners about what was going on. So Microsoft, their largest investor who has committed $13 billion to the development of OpenAI as a company, had to learn about Sam Altman's firing through the newspaper. Just as a general tip to any board at a startup, that's a horrible idea. Genuinely bad. Now, I'm not going to sit here and defend Sam Altman one way or the other, but I am going to acknowledge some objective facts, and that is that Sam Altman was a very competent person, he's very popular, and he's very well connected. He is considered to be one of the primary leaders in the field of artificial intelligence. The board had no communication plan in place, so right now, they look like bungling idiots. They put out a press release about why Sam Altman was let go as CEO, and it implied that Sam had lied to the board about something. The interim CEO actually had to walk that back a day later and say, actually, it wasn't due to malfeasance. That was their word, not mine. And it wasn't related to security or product development or anything like that. It came down to miscommunications between Sam and the board. That warranted his abrupt firing on a Friday without telling their strategic investors first. That warranted firing Sam Altman so quickly that they didn't have an employee retention plan in place for the employees who were very, very heavily attached to Sam Altman. Microsoft, OpenAI's largest investor, was so upset and surprised by the decision that the CEO of Microsoft actually spent the weekend spearheading the campaign to bring Sam Altman back in as CEO of OpenAI. Those discussions were happening. And the board, realizing that Sam Altman returning means them losing their jobs, decided to hire someone else. Who did they hire? The former CEO of Twitch, Emmett Shear. Twitch, the streaming service for video games, which rose to popularity, and I'm not joking here, on the backs of teenage girls wearing bikinis playing video games. And Twitch is a streaming service. It has nothing to do with artificial intelligence. In fact, the new CEO has no experience with artificial intelligence whatsoever. And if part of the concern with Sam Altman was that he was growing the company too quickly and bringing in new partners, what is Emmett Shear meant to do? Because Emmett Shear's reputation at Twitch was the person who grew it to almost a $1 billion company that was then sold to Amazon. So OpenAI had an incredibly popular, competent, well-connected CEO in Sam Altman, fired him abruptly, and then brought in the former guy from Twitch, a guy who worked in tech but does not know anything about artificial intelligence and whose connections are primarily in the Amazon world. I'm sure that your largest investor, Microsoft, loves that for you, especially since part of the services and investment that Microsoft provides to OpenAI is Azure web hosting services for their platform. And it turns out, for web hosting, Amazon and Microsoft are in direct competition with one another. The board's bungling of this process extends over to employee retention. OpenAI really is its people. Its engineers run the company, build its products, and develop its services. OpenAI currently employs about 700 people, and nearly 500 of the employees, as of Monday, have signed an open letter saying that if the board doesn't resign and bring Sam Altman back as CEO, that they will leave and follow Sam Altman to Microsoft, who immediately scooped him up after it was announced that he was not returning to OpenAI. So let's take a look at what the board of OpenAI has managed to accomplish in just 3 short days. They fired an incredibly popular, competent, and well-connected CEO with little to no context, but implied that he was lying. They then had to walk back that statement and clarify, no, he wasn't lying, it was miscommunication. They angered their largest investor to the point where the CEO of that multi-billion-dollar international company got directly involved in the campaign to bring back the CEO that the board had just fired. They now have a revolt on their hands where 500 of their approximately 700 employees are threatening to leave if the board doesn't resign and bring the same guy back. By the way, I don't know about you, but what company can afford to lose over 70% of its workforce immediately? Oh, and your former CEO, who's very competent, well-liked, and connected, and considered to be a figurehead in the field where you actually work as an industry, got scooped up by your largest investor, who now has them working on their own independent AI project with a lot of the team members who are leaving your company in droves to go join them and do that work. I cannot see a way forward from this aside from the board of OpenAI resigning effective immediately. Unless Sam was working on a GPT program that was called How to Kick Puppies, there is no rationale or justification that's been provided that explains away this decision, as well as their horrible decision making that goes into everything around it. They fired a CEO who knew what he was doing, brought in outside investors, and grew the company. They alienated their largest investor and made other investors incredibly nervous. They've angered the vast majority of their employees. Employees who, by the way, were about to get a pretty significant financial payout for the folks who had been at the company for a while, because OpenAI has been negotiating a second share sale at the company's new valuation of about $90 billion. A valuation that is now very much in doubt because you have a new CEO with no experience in artificial intelligence. The old guy who knew what he was doing is now with Microsoft, and 70% of your staff are threatening to quit because of your decisions. I am stunned. It's hard to think of another company that has done such a good job at destroying hard-earned goodwill that it developed with its end users over years and years. OpenAI went from a leader in artificial intelligence on Thursday afternoon to a laughingstock on Monday, all because of the decisions of the board and their lack of planning for this transition. It is amazing to watch this happen in real time. And I have a feeling that business administration students will be learning about this in spring.